Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up podcast. Soly here. We are coming to you live from Augusta. At least myself and our first co-host tonight, Mr. Kevin Van Valkenburg. Hello, KVV. How are you?
Soly, I'm great. I love being at the Masters. I get that little tingly feeling, walk out on the course. Ben Crenshaw introduced himself to me today.
Really?
Yeah,
How
I was just
about
hanging
that?
around. He was like, "Hey, young man, how are you?" So I was somebody be like, "We just did a deep dive on you, Ben." But no, it was great.
I might wax a little bit this week. I'm getting a little tingly feelings. But a lot of golf has happened this past week. Also, I know it was not the Sunday he was looking for out of his cliques, but he's here to, he's going to perform. He's going to come. He's going to bring a smile tonight. That's Mr. TC. Hello, Mr. TC.
Hello, guys. Glad to be with you, reporting live from Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Not a good day for the cliques, but just a big week of golf. I mean, one of my favorite weeks of golf of the year, like a super week. So
it has really turned into it, and it just becomes, it's kind of like, dude, we'll say the live stuff. It's like, do we need a LIV-Miami event today? Like on top of LPGA Match play, ANWA, Valero, rolling into Masters Week. It's like, that's a lot of golf to keep track of. But we are, of course, brought to you by our friends at Titleist, the #1 ball in golf, and the most historic titles are on the line. Like on Saturday at the Augusta National Women's Amateur, the overwhelming majority of the game's best players tee up a Pro V1 or Pro V1X. 10 of the top 12 players heading into the final round at the ANWA played a Titleist golf ball, including the eventual champion, who completed her unforgettable birdie finish with her Pro V1. Titleist was the top choice of players at the ANWA when it came to their drivers, fairways, hybrids, utilities, irons, and wedges. That also includes the ANWA champ, who is gaming a TSR3 driver, TSR2 fairway metal, T150 irons, and 3 new Vokey SM10 wedges among her Titleist setup. You can't play your best golf if you're not dialed into every piece of your equipment. Visit Titleist.com to learn more and find a fitting near you. We're going to give you a quick rundown. We're going to start with Valero. We're going to talk some LPGA. As we're recording this, Nelly Korda is in the process of winning her 4th straight LPGA Tour event. Then we're going to bring in our own Jordan Perez, who's here in the green room. She was covering the ANWA here at Augusta this past week. And then, of course, we got to save a lot of time for the cliques on the back end, because TC's got some questions he's got to answer. But
thank you, TC, for continuing to hold the cliques accountable.
You're the only
person who covers LIV fairly.
Thank you. And I think the ANWA pronunciation might be the new Gin Gin.
Which I was overwhelmed by the fact that people were saying gin over gin. Like GHIN is gin to me. It's always been gin. And the majority of people, majority of people were voting the other way, and that just seemed wrong. But I don't know. Maybe we don't lead with that. Maybe we lead with the playoff that we just saw at Valero, which was low-key the weirdest Sunday maybe we've seen. If you happen to miss it, Denny McCarthy shot a back nine 28 to fire a final round 63 to hunt down Akshay Bhatia, who had a 4-shot lead going into the final round, shot 67 and still found himself needing to make a 12-footer to get into a playoff. They go into a playoff. Denny McCarthy steps up and dead chunks a wedge into the water after shooting that back nine 28. And a story emerges where Akshay apparently dislocated his shoulder, or his shoulder popped out of the socket. It is truly Masters Week when something pops out of its socket and gets put back into place.
Really?
He had to call on a physio to come tape him up before hitting a wedge shot onto the green and making the birdie putt to win in the playoff. It was freaking old school Twitter came alive for about 12 minutes there this afternoon. It was fantastic.
It was like shades of Bo Hostler at Eugene Country Club for the NCAA championships a few years back. I felt alive. And this is after Brendan Todd completely ices everyone on the 72nd hole. And
some points to protect.
He's playing for a lot still out there. That was tough, though. BT, I love you, but that was tough for the TV time there.
Yeah, just a lot going on. It was awesome. And Soly, you were using some colorful language there as well, with shots fired, dead, Texas, all sorts of things there. You need to be careful there when we're talking about Denny.
Who was the first person that identified that he looks like Lee Harvey Oswald? I mean, hopefully you're picking up on the joke as of now, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. But I don't think he likes it necessarily, but it's really tough to avoid at this point.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be told that they look like an assassin
He also looks like Brock Purdy, right?
It's a if Lee Harvey Oswald and Brock Purdy had a baby, that would be Denny McCarthy. But I feel like everyone was rooting for Akshay, and then as soon as this shoulder thing happened, as soon as he got to take a timeout in the playoff, I feel like things changed very quickly on that. But where do you guys stand on needing to call it a trainer in the in a playoff?
It reminded me of tennis, right? Where they take they're trying to change the momentum of things. They take a bathroom break. They're just stalling. I joked that he was going into the four corners offense after Denny dunked it in the water. I don't know. What are the rules? So do you know if you can do anything like that? That's could he have just taken an extended break for 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get this shoulder looked at?
I don't know it. This came up a couple weeks ago with the players when Scotty was getting work done when he was teeing off on the 14th hole. I don't remember what the actual rule is. I know that this has something to do with the pace of play. Like you can't fall a certain amount of time behind, or you can't do it on every hole. I don't know what exactly it is, but there's a reason why he went straight to the rules official to say, like, what can I do here? What am I allowed to do? And you are allowed a certain allotment of time for treatment of some kind. So it gets taped up. And it was just so funny to see his physio like up on the hill. The camera found him, and it was just like a closer coming in to finish off the game.
The physio was on the grassy knoll.
I mean, if
it was
this is
kind of
true, then
stressed.
Tony Finau should have been allowed to finish out the par 3 contest years ago. He still could have been the reigning champion of that. I feel like that's in dispute. Put an asterisk.
Kinda
on
like-
whoever
it's
won
kind of one of
that.
those things. It's kind of chess from Akshay, where there's no group to fall behind.
Yeah.
Right? They're the only group on the course. Really, I haven't seen anything that courageous since Tom Kim's performance at Hoy Lake. I mean, that was up there with him. Paul Pierce, I think you tweeted that earlier, Soly, Kurt Schilling, things of that nature. JJ Watt.
I have to listen. I know every injury that ever happens, TC is assuming somebody is faking it or being dramatic about it. Have to assume he didn't want to go get treatment before hitting the game-winning shot in the playoffs. So I'm guessing there's something to do with it. He said it. He's had issue with that shoulder, and if they showed the replay, he does a couple left arm fist pumps. It wasn't anything dramatic. It wasn't like he over celebrated and threw it. Maybe he technically did, but it sounds like he had something already going on there.
Yeah.
Which, like, I actually have that in my right shoulder, where
Sure.
sometimes if I like fall a weird way or like it collapsed a weird way, I'm like, oh. You can hurt it really quickly. But I'm 37 and basically a 57-year-old in a 37-year-old's body, and he's 22, so he's way too young for that stuff to be happening. But if he was if he was 35 or older, I'd be like, oh, I totally understand what just happened.
Very normal injury.
Soly, I told Gustav, my son, the same thing this week. I said, you're faking it. I got called home from Augusta. He had a broken collarbone because he insisted on playing tackle football after his flag football game. And I was like, Gustav, are you hurt or are you injured? Because I just drove home from Augusta on account of you. He said, Dada, I'm injured.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm injured. Regretfully, TC will not be fulfilling the Waffle House, which was scheduled for Monday in Augusta. He had a whole
I
plan
was looking
for it.
forward to it. Yeah. I was stoked to get that, going. People were lining up, making reservations. I had a whole spreadsheet going of what slots people were going to fill. I was planning on eating 10 to 12 waffles, cutting it down to 12 to 14 hours. So can't do it. I think we're burying the lead here, which is the fact that Akshay and Denny McCarthy finished 9 clear of the field.
9 clear. Yeah, this was going around. It reminded me of Stenson and Phil at Troon. Stenson was 14 shots clear of third in a major. Maybe not the exact same thing as the Valero, but just a dominant performance. Actually, sneaky kind of good field at Valero. Rory in the field, Spieth, a bunch of dudes that maybe a little bit stronger than it's been in the past. It's pretty solid. I mean, a fine golf course. I think it's an interesting finish and some thought-provoking shots to pull off. But Akshay led the field in strokes gained approach. He was 24th in putting, second around the greens, 6th off the tee. I mean, it's just I honestly didn't realize. I'm a big Akshay guy. I've been a big Akshay supporter for a long time, and I've really appreciated his process and like his decision to turn pro early when a lot of people were doubting that. I didn't know he had, I didn't I didn't know he had this like ceiling. I didn't know he had like this run away from, Denny McCarthy aside, ran away from a decent PGA Tour field by 9 at age 22 was like, holy shit, man. I'm really glad he won. I mean, McCarthy, I'm kind of, gutted for him shooting 28 on the back 9. That'll win you almost any PGA Tour event except for this one. But I mean, he shot 67 coming in with a 4-shot lead in the final round. He played a great final round. got run down, but was able to survive in the playoff. And man, has me kind of rethinking his ceiling a little bit. I kind of thought he would be top 40, top 50 player on tour. Like I'm wondering, I don't know if I have an answer for that right now. Is he like potentially top 20 player on tour? I mean, he's still only 22 years old.
I think the thing that's always interesting to think about, Soly, is the best 15-year-old golfer in the world is not the best 20-year-old golfer in the world, is not the best 25-year-old golfer in the world. Different guys make different leaps, and sometimes bodies stop growing, or sometimes somebody catches a little speed and they get to be a good player. And maybe he's kind of figuring out, I don't know what it is, but maybe the stats would kind of tell better, but that he's learning to make the leap.
From that perspective, that line of thinking, like he was the best 15 or 16-year-old player in the world. I posed the question on Twitter or X or whatever the hell it is earlier. I said, who finishes with more PGA Tour wins, Tom Kim or Akshay? And, people could call this recency bias. I think Tom Kim's entire career is recency bias, though. So it's kind of counteracted by that. 78%
What does that even mean?
said Akshay. So I just don't think Tom Kim's that good.
How did you shoehorn Tom Kim into this?
Because they're both Tom Kim's 21, Akshay's 22. They both, Akshay just won his second career PGA Tour event. Tom Kim's won 3 times now. Like they're pretty good comps for one another. They've both been playing at a high level from a young age. Doesn't, obviously Ludwig's, a decade older than they are.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging.
Again, you can't sleep on this. Tom Kim finished runner-up in a major championship last year, right? That goes on the record as well. Like I think that'd be a different. Akshay goes into a different category if he goes out and finishes runner-up at the Masters this week.
Something is wrong with him this year. Like,
it's not good.
His strokes gained are way down, right? And approach, I think, too. Like, if you're not going to hit good irons, like you are not going to succeed if you don't drive it that far. And that's Tom Kim's kind of game. So
I don't know. It's pretty wild to see Akshay's just profile too. Like he's gaining strokes pretty much everywhere. It's not like he's doing any one thing. His iron play was extraordinary this week. He was great off the tee, good around the green, putting, gain strokes and all that. But it's, pretty well-rounded player. I think the issue with him has always been like, can he fill out his frame and can he stay healthy?
Yeah,
because I think there were some concerns, and that I'm not sure that's getting
still
answered.
have some concerns, I think, on that. No, I've told this story a bunch of times when it comes up, but we played the junior players Pro-Am or Am, whatever you want to call it, like 6 or 7 years ago, I think. And we asked the guy we play with, you were just asking about some of the other juniors, and he said about Akshay, it was a big buzz around Akshay at that time. It was like, asked him about him. He said, yeah, I've never seen him miss an 8-footer that matters. Like he pours in so many putts, and his putting hasn't been amazing as a pro. It hasn't really fully graduated. That his ball striking has actually been low key good, but he made a lot of stuff this week and made the putt when he needed to on the 72nd hole. So
something obviously happened with the putting, right? Because he switched around, like he was doing the arm lock, and then it was doing whatever this is now with the sort of longer putter where you're gripping it down. He's figured out a way to make it work. I always find it interesting when people, and we talked a lot about this with the Scheffler stuff, when they're such good putters as juniors and they're like unconscious, and then something happens and they're like kind of lost in the wilderness for a while. Like it's probably not that uncommon, but it's just kind of fascinating that happens when you hear stories like that about a guy who just can't miss and just like has all the confidence in the world, and then all of a sudden he's like, well, let me try like a 5th putter this year or this weird stance because I can't figure it out. TC, you've been there.
I think some of it probably goes back to they're used to putting for birdie, or they're used to being out in front, and it's just a different mentality, right? And then obviously he's gone to the Big Randy school of thinking with the longer gripping down on the longer putter there. So,
which I don't know when he made this shift, but he was negative 0.58 putting last year, which is terrible. That's
I think
bottom.
Last year he's doing the arm lock, and this year he's done the longer
broomstick, and he's plus 0.36, which is like that's
good enough to.
I without looking, I'm guessing that's top 30%, 70th percentile. I always screw that up.
Yeah, something else too. He basically went wire to wire.
Yeah.
Which
he wrote on his hand before. I don't know
that's
if you saw
big
that.
Dick stuff. That's serious. Now, granted, I don't know if it's considered wire to wire. Garrett Morrison was tweeting this earlier. I don't know if it's considered wire to wire if you go to a playoff, because technically you're not, solo leader after 72 hole. But you know,
It'd be tough to never trail after 72 holes or after any round and not consider it wire to wire. I don't know the answer to that technically.
I still can't get over Denny McCarthy.
That was
birdieing
insane.
8 of his last 9 holes, all 7 of his final holes, and shooting 28 like that on a really hard golf course. Like this golf course is, I don't know if I like it or I want to play it. It's really ugly looking. It's a third leg Greg creation. But man, like I kind of dig it for professional events, and it always,
It has a
you know,
place, I think.
yeah, and it always kind of creates a pretty cool, diverse leaderboard. Just different skill sets represented. I mean, you know, you see it here: Akshay, Denny McCarthy, Rory, Russell Henley, Adam Shank. Like those are all, you know, different golfers, all pretty good iron players, though. Denny, like to do that and then to lay sod over it in the playoff after that, after 7 straight birdies, is just
I
like
have
holy
hit
heat
I have hit
check.
that wedge so many times. I think as soon as I saw that, like I've been there, man.
I'm just really glad this didn't happen after Akshay went to go get treatment. That would have been the only conversation was like if he got iced and he got chunked it, that would have been that'd have been take central leading up into Masters week. But yeah, he birdied the 10th hole, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th to shoot that back nine. Because we were watching in the media center without sound. I mean, we walked around Augusta a little bit this afternoon, kind of only faintly paying attention because it looked like, I mean, when I left the media center, again, you can't take your phone. Akshay had a 6-shot lead. Like it looked like it was
starting the back nine.
Yeah,
like,
and it was just like kept chipping away, and Akshay wasn't giving anything away, but just keep looking up like, oh, that's a birdie putt from McCarthy. That's another birdie putt, and then you check the leaderboard. It's like that guy birdied 6 in a row, and then he birdied the last 2 on top of that. It was kind of snuck up on us a little bit that we're just kind of casually watching it, but that was a memorable one.
Yeah, pretty good rest of the leaderboard too.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say-
Hideki, you know, Fleetwood. We can talk Spieth's week. Adam Scott, Ludwig, Keith Mitchell. Like they were all up there. You know, there's some dogs. Rico Hoey played well. So
We got
your guy Noren played well.
We'll talk a little Augusta stuff specifically. We got this question from Amol Yannick. He said, which top 10 gives the most hope for next week? Rory, Hideki, Ludwig, or Spieth?
I think Rory. I mean, you want to have the Rory conversation now? Like, we don't have to
Sure.
talk Augusta specifically,
Sure.
but I think for whatever reason, whatever Butch and him talked about, you'd see him a bunch today working on the sort of takeaway, making sure, like, I guess the club is kind of outside his hands longer or whatever. I think he really needed some sort of shot of confidence. Like, I think it was probably good that he wasn't actually in contention, but he played well. I think I saw I showed you a tweet from Justin Ray. Like, this was his best approach week in 5 years in terms of proximity. That's pretty amazing.
Y'all are falling for it. You're falling in the trap. You're falling in the trap.
I don't want to talk Augusta, but let's just say some good vibes into what's coming
into Augusta.
Whatever's next, Soly, will be helpful too, because he had his first top 10 of the year. Obviously not including the DP World Tour stuff, but I think he needed some sort of like, you know what, I'm going to press reset and just kind of figure something out.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the putting does. But yeah, like that tweet he had, Justin Ray had, he was 4.5 or 4 feet 4 inches better from 50 to 125 in on his approach than his season average. He's 5 foot 1 inch better from 125 to 150, 3 foot 9 inches better from 150 to 175, and 7 feet 8 inches better from 175 to 200. So that portends well. What is Rory doing over the next few days? Because he's not getting into Augusta till Tuesday, right? Just going home to hang.
Is he really? I didn't realize he was not getting in until Tuesday.
GC, you might have a more direct line to Rory than either of us. I have not heard what his plans are. So
maybe I just, in like the stupor of the last few days, I just fell for some bullshit online or something.
Parody
like
account.
Yeah.
Without the blue check, everybody's got a blue check mark now, TC. It's hard to discern. Elon's just giving them out right and left. So
yeah. Well, I thought he wasn't working with Butch, but according to Rory, he is working with Butch.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It's all the news will come from my team and my team only.
Do you want to apologize for what Spieth did on Saturday?
Jesus
we were, kind of amongst a bunch of other things, not really catching it live, but what unfolded there was disgusting, TC, and I need you to speak on it.
It was. I think it's one of those things though, where we need to change.
In case people didn't see, could you tell us could you remind people what happened?
Yeah, Spieth was, I mean, just a batshit crazy week from Spieth to begin with. What was that, round one that he had an ace, he had a double, he had, let's see, one, two, three, four, he had 4 birdies, a double, uh, 5 bogeys, and an ace. And just crazy shit all week from Spieth. He finishes T10, but on Saturday, people were just incensed. On 18, he hits his drive left, kind of left rough, and then has to. I don't know. I
Tried to hit a
wasn't
big
watching live.
So he tried to hit a big
Yeah.
cut around some trees, hit a branch, kicked further left into a terrible spot. Like he was in essentially the penalty area, but there was like a concrete sort of thing that he would have gotten relief from if it was not in the penalty area. And the only swing that he had was essentially to hit it further left up onto the roof of the clubhouse.
So
Not the
before
clubhouse
that,
like behind
yeah.
18 green.
Not the grandstand.
Right, yeah, not the grandstand at all, but the literal clubhouse left.
Before
And
that, he insisted on hitting, like he hit a draw. He hit this big sweeping draw in there when the shot calls for a fade off the tee. Then I think he could have gone out left-handed, hit
he
it
could have gone
backwards,
backwards for sure.
left-handed.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did read a thing this morning.
But yeah, he like alerted the rules official. He's like, "Hey, I'm declaring what I'm going to do here. Like I'm going to hit it on the roof. Like I'm not going to hit it into the building. I'm not going to hit it over the building. I'm going to hit it onto the top of the building, onto the clubhouse." And to their credit, NBC got the shot.
It was,
They
it
had a
was sick
drone.
work,
They
yeah.
See the
took
shot
their drone to fly up there and see that it had landed in the gutter.
rolling down into the gutter, and he gets TIO relief. Ends up
Which-
making 7. It was kind of a ball don't lie situation, right?
But how is the clubhouse TIO? That is not a temporary structure. Like, is it because he could have played it from up there? Technically, how is that not out of bounds? Like, it's literally the clubhouse. That's not part of the golf course. How is that not out of bounds?
It's like when you find a glitch in a video game. I think that like they just understood that there was no out of bounds anywhere over there, that no one had ever been over there. So they just realized like, oh, let's just launch it up here, and then suddenly we'll get the drop back online with it.
Without knowing anything, that's Greller. Greller has scouted that out. He
yeah.
knows that the clubhouse is not OB. I don't know where else it's going to fit in, but I love the 18th hole grandstand at Valero. They look like a gas station. I love that little touch. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before, but that was a special little touch.
It's such a weird color palette they use down at Valero. That kind of dusty patina, just weird. Yeah, I don't listen. It was gross.
I will
but
say,
also
listen,
like I
beginning
respect
here,
the
when you
commitment
guys
to
were-
the bit.
when you guys went on tour with us and we had the TIO situation at the
Ugh.
Sony, I got so many people attacking me and saying you guys would not be critical of this if it was Spieth. You guys would be celebrating it or whatever. So I just want to go on record and say this was bullshit.
God,
Like,
you're gonna get so many emails tomorrow of people apologizing, like, "Oh, I was so wrong, KBV.
Thank you, Cy.
My
No.
goal was to be so right about this and
Actually-
not just get under your skin. I own this. You were
Real
right."
quick.
Dear Designated
Real-
Survivor,
real
you
quick.
have seen the light. You're such a stand-up guy.
Before we get to apology, or while we're on apologies here, KVV, do you want to acknowledge something from the lead up pod, the Masters, the
Yeah,
4-year
I-
deep dive you guys
I had
did?
sort of a brain like just meltdown, and I referred to both Rory and IBF as Englishmen, which is just wrong in every level. Like I apologize to the Australians, I apologize to the Northern Irish, the Irish,
the English.
English. I apologize to Americans just for
King
being,
Charles.
for me representing them. Yeah, the royal family. Look, you can't get everything right on those pods, Holly, as we know, sometimes you make an error and then you're like, whatever, nobody's listening, and
You get 25 emails
Yeah,
about it. Be like,
so-
I realize it. Also, hand up. I could have caught that and I did not. I don't know. I must have tuned you out or something.
in
but-
my brain, I was thinking like IBF has like collapsed before, like he would sort of know, like he wants to relate to, so whatever. But I don't know why for a second my brain was thinking that like IBF was English or British or anything. Obviously, he's
Listen,
not,
that's
so-
on me. I should have helped you out with that. Also, mea
Yeah.
I said he hadn't.
Right. Wai Yang, he had the lead. He
Wai
hadn't had the
Yang, but
lead
I think I
since
was
the
referring to
Open.
the scandal, but I said since the Open. So mea culpa on that
Listen,
one.
we're not
Also,
always loose and fast with
Yeah.
the facts, but sometimes we are, and hopefully you forgive us eventually.
It was a great
called out-
episode.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but that was like a record scratch moment for me. I was in the car driving.
what?
And I was like, what the fuck did you just say?
Well, the Irish, I apologize to most of all, since being as mostly an Irishman, and apologize to the Dutch for claiming the Irish when I could claim the Dutch.
I also said Tiger had never led on a Sunday of a Masters and not won. But 2007, he actually shared the lead at one point in that one that he let ZJ win. So that one hurt to relive. So
Look at that. You guys didn't even think we were getting a Serve Pro segment in tonight, but there we go.
Speaking of segments, our friends at Holderness and Bourne they have a fresh spring refresh. They got tasteful, not tacky classic styles that pair well with anything. KBB and I both have some classic H&B on right now. There's just something clean about a white polo under a Q-zip or sweater. TC, why don't you take us to some of the new stuff they got going on there?
Yeah, first of all I wear when we go on the road is the white polo with some sort of sweater, like a crew neck or a hoodie over the top of it. Huge H&B guy since the beginning. Right now I'm wearing the Macaulay print polo and then just one of their kind of classic gray sweatshirts. They've got a cashmere piece in there. And you know what, Soly, do not, I repeat, do not sleep on the Parker pant and the Garvey pant. I've been wearing their shorts a lot down here in Florida. It's been really nice weather. They've got a Hoylake red this season. That's kind of their red color story. Little Mr. Jones in inspo behind the green jacket was the red jacket of Hoylake Liverpool Golf Club. And, so go to hbgolf.com, NLU10 at checkout. That's the only discount code on the market.
Only one. NLU10. I got a couple DMs today actually asking for an H&B discount code. NLU10 at checkout, hbgolf.com. They make some of the best golf. I mean, we've had them in our shop since like 2016. We've been working.
They were the original polo we've had in the shop, and we've worked with them every season since. And I think that's the ultimate endorsement. It's like they've been our biggest partner in the pro shop ever since the beginning. So
100%.
check them out.
Anything else from Valero?
Let's see here. What else?
God, I just opened up down the leaderboard. That's on me.
No, we had some equipment malfunctions.
That's true.
Ludwig's driver head flew off. Yeah, face clay. It could have been a Peter Costas special there.
Peter Costas did comment on it, but he did not. He said the screw was loose, which I think was actually a fair interpretation of what happened, because I think they just screwed his head back on. They didn't.
Oh,
he didn't get a new driver. Yeah,
got
they
it.
just put a screw.
Wait, you're telling me it was not a face collapse situation? He didn't. Okay, he didn't hit it too fast.
He still drove the green as well. This is Ludwig, and then Jimmy Walker, his putter head snapped off. Big text, Jimmy Walker.
That was a little more forceful. That one we can explain exactly how it came off. He ripped his putter head off as he was going to go putt it while it was on the happy hour with Smiley and Rory on that.
Good job for Rory and Smiley for handling that really well. Like, we've all been there. Like, I guess that was well handled by the team.
And you know what? Good on NBC for letting Smiley do that and run with it. Good on different players for hopping on with Smiley. Good on Smiley for running with that idea. It's been additive to the broadcast. And listen, praise progress.
Akshay was on too while holding the lead. He was on there Friday afternoon as well. Akshay leading right into Rory. Honestly, it kind of turns like Friday afternoon into like
something that was
crap.
Totally
I don't want to miss this.
Otherwise, and now it's like, hey, at least on social, you're going to catch up with it and be like, oh, that was fun.
Right. I feel like I'm potentially missing out on something. Just getting those guys to talk live golf right over it. So I mean, that's definitely praise progress on that.
Yeah.
One.
PGA Tour Social had a really good thing that they did this week too. They were asking different players who the best dressed on tour was, and the way they edited it out was just really good. Like they mashed up all these different other things in it. They're showing growth in a big way on the hashtag socials. So proud of them.
Proving the product. How about that?
Compliment. I mean, obviously, we'd compliment the dick riders are going to compliment the product, but
on the LPGA front, is it gone final yet? It has officially gone final. Nelly Korda wins her 4th consecutive event. She stomped Leona Maguire 4-3 in the championship match at the match play at Shadow Creek. Guys, I don't really know where to go with this. I hate to call Nelly a post hype sleeper, but it kind of felt like
I think that's the
obviously
perfect term.
yeah, but I mean, she achieved a lot, right? She won a fair amount. She won a major championship, and it wasn't like she was not accomplishing things, but it was just, I feel like it was kind of put on her to carry the mantle of women's golf, and I don't know if she wasn't ready for it or she just didn't. It was a huge, huge ask to like win tournaments at a very high clip, and it did not happen until very recently. And it's been a monumental change. 4 wins in a row in a very, very, very competitive environment. When like my main beef with the
4
LPGA
wins in
Tour-
her starts, not
Correct. Yep.
like she didn't go over and win over in China or Korea or some of the other places they played on the early season swing. But that's nothing to that's not to take anything away. If anything, she won for big full field events because those over in Asia are weaker fields as well.
So I
So
have
sorry.
a little bit of insight into this. I think I was trying to write a piece about Nelly last year. I think this is the year that we all hoped Nelly would have last year. It felt like that was the moment, whatever. And so in the kind of discussions with her team about would she sit down for a longer thing, we were talking back and forth about what the piece might be about. And someone on her team was said, listen, she does not like the whole sentiment of like the face of women's golf or like she rejects that entirely. She's not comfortable with it. She's not going to want to talk about that. So you need to kind of look around for another sort of angle. She is competitive as hell. She loves to practice. She loves to grind. And that made me kind of think like, okay, like obviously that was a little bit of a cliched thing about, are you going to be that sort of the standard bearer for women's golf, whatever. And we didn't get to do it because she got a back injury, and then sort of things kind of, snowballed a little bit. But this is kind of the run that I think we all thought. And I do think it's interesting of just, there was a lot of talk early in her career, like, oh, like you're so, you're so photogenic. You're so like personable. You're an American. You speak English. You're, a tall blonde girl. Like this would be so great if you were the face of the women's game. And she was just like, man, I hate that. Like, I just want to hit chips over and over again. I want to hit bomb drives. I want to work on my swing. And I think maybe that could be the sort of bigger success in the long run, right? Like if she's got a taste of being a killer and she wants to long-term just like kick ass, like maybe it just took her a little bit of time to feel comfortable in that role. And now, man, if she picks off a major here, or God bless 2 majors this year, holy shit. Like then that stuff comes without having to, ask for it. It's just like your game has done all the talking. And I think that's probably what she really wants the most, because she's not super comfortable like talking to the media or sharing. She's super private. She just wants to hang with her family and play golf. And great. Like that you can be a superstar with those things. That's how David Duval was. And he was a stud and a star for a long time.
She it feels like she's earning that mantle on her terms instead of it being bestowed upon her. I think the way that she's won these events as well, the one out at Palos Verdes, especially just, the way that like she beat Lydia Ko in a playoff at the drive on in, was that Bradenton or Sarasota? She won in a playoff over Ryan O'Toole and, just went and hunted it down, kind of a no doubt at it at the Arizona event. And then like she won that match. She won that finals match today in like the first 6 holes. She was 3 up through she was 3 under through 6, and just like there wasn't any chance she was losing that. And she beat a really that was a really good final 8. Great tournament. Like I love the format. I think they could probably go to 16 or 32. But I hope that they don't ease off.
Explain it for those that didn't get to see the format.
Yeah, so I think, gosh, how many was it? It was like, I think it was 90 players. They cut it down after 36 holes to the top, I don't know, 60 or something. And then they went from there to the top 8. And they had a playoff. There was, 4, I think there was 4 or 5 tied for 8th. They had a playoff to kind of cut that down. And basically everybody in the top 8 was super strong. Like Brooke Henderson, Yuka Sasso.
Brooke actually, I think Brooke missed the top 8. She lost in the playoff.
No, I'm saying tied for
okay
top 8 in the playoff. But yeah, it was fantastic. Say Young Kim, Angel Yin made it, Rose Zhang. Like it was an awesome final 8. Leona Maguire was playing great golf, and Nelly just snatched it from her. I mean, it was no doubted, but Shadow Creek was set up really, it was set up tough. It was super, super, super windy out there. ladies were struggling. Like the cut was well above par. And I hope that they don't ease off of that because I think
Yeah.
it actually identified the best players. And I think there's more, like having, I think Palos Verdes was a great event earlier this year. I think having some of these bigger golf courses, setting the courses up a little bit more difficult, it feels like it's a combination of that and also the stars actually playing like stars. Like the LPGA has had a massive, you call it a problem, but just a massive amount of parity over the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I don't think there's anything better for the women's game than to have the stars playing well. It's kind of what the PGA Tour needs right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to turn this into a big macro conversation about golf and NBC and Golf Channel and the marketing of it all, but like feels like if you could dial up what would make women's golf really successful, it would be this exact thing. I mean, 4 tournaments in a
Yeah.
row by one of your most marketable players. It helps that she's a blonde American that is attractive. Like that matters to people that tune in and interest in all of these things. And it just, I mean, Randy's been pointing this out a ton too, just like the complete lack of shoulder programming around anything with the LPGA or golf in general, or
not even shoulder programming.
Real
They
programming, yeah.
They couldn't even get on TV today until the Corn Ferry Tour playoff was over, and by that point, Nelly was already a few up. It's bizarre.
I think if you look at what's going on with women's basketball right now,
Yeah,
right, it's just exploding. Obviously,
it's a tough leap.
It
is a tough leap,
but I think there are some lessons to be learned, right? Like it took a while,
decades of investment from ESPN.
Investment, right?
Totally.
ESPN did a incredible thing over and over when people were making fun of it. Why are you showing this stuff over and over? And then literally the game when Caitlin Clark came along, they were ready for it, ready to embrace it.
That's exactly
right.
Like
I get
instead of playing from behind and trying to catch up or try.
I get why it's different. I get why you can't quite replicate it. Like Nelly's not going to win 15 tournaments this year, and like the difference between her and Caitlin Clark is always going to be a storyline whenever she's on your TV. But man, like there is an audience out there that could get interested in it, and yeah, it would take some dominance from Nelly, but that's what Caitlin Clark has shown. Like if you get a player who makes you want to tune in and watch, people will come.
The problem with the parallel, I think, though, is like also on the men's golf side, it's not like that's marketed. That buzz isn't really there as well week to week in the, I mean, men's college basketball, men's, that has been a big product for quite some time. And like,
but that product keeps getting worse and worse. Seemingly,
it does.
too.
But I mean, Golf Channel hasn't really figured out how to make, even with the much larger investment into it, hasn't figured out a way to get a ton of eyeballs into men's golf. So that leap is tougher. That's not saying that they shouldn't do it. It's just, it is a tougher leap to make. It was the most watched basketball game that ESPN has ever showed, the semifinal match, which. But
let's say that, okay, I'll throw out a number out here. I don't know if it's accurate, but let's say like 1.5, 2 million people watch the women's US Open in like a great thing. If for them to go from 2 million to 3 million, isn't like, it's not going from 2 million to 10 million, right? I don't think that's a realistic for what golf is, right? But I think that you can find 1 million more people who would tune into the US Open if Nelly Korda was like having an incredibly dominant season, if she'd already won one major and was like, oh, can Nelly win the Grand Slam this year?
And if there's more parallels with the men's game for more back-to-back, like the Pinehurst thing, like it just, the way it's done is
it's like the old course. They're playing the old course this year, right? Like people want to see the old course. It's context, whether it's context with golf course architecture, with historical parallels, all sorts of stuff like that. I think it's, I don't know. I feel like a little bit on the outside looking in because I haven't watched any of the women's basketball, but that's just because I don't watch college basketball at all, men's or women's at this point. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things too, where like, it just seems like, all right, like, they're more content to watch all of golf just shrivel up and not take advantage of this opportunity and play defense instead of push their chips in and go down swinging, which sucks. So,
it
things
just takes a different partner for. I mean, we've covered this territory, I believe, but NBC, Golf Channel, Comcast have no interest in actually. It's just a line item for them. The golf is in general. So that's why you're going to see. Golf Central comes from Stanford now, and I bring that up to say, like, the massive amount of conversation around everything with women's basketball is what's helped launch it, right? I mean, Caitlin Clark's an incredibly exciting player to watch, but it's on everywhere. Like I flip on SportsCenter in the morning now when I'm hanging out with my daughter, and like it's on everywhere. It is, and it's like it builds that interest, it builds that social media interest, it builds that. Like we were out walking Augusta National today, and we were saying like, let's get back and watch the NCAA final. Like that is a totally. There just seems to be none of that energy around golf in general, not just on women's golf. But anyways,
which is why I'd love to see like put live from at some of the women's majors, right? Like we make that investment and have Brandel there and have
Totally.
Beth Ann and have people talking about people who understand and know the game. And I think that'd be great.
totally.
Yeah. A couple other things on LPGA real quick. There was a distinct lack of blowers.
Okay.
They did not have enough electric blowers, backpack blowers. I was talking to several of the players.
At Shadow Creek, they did not have enough of that.
Yeah, they couldn't
place
find. They said they kept saying they were limited on personnel. We don't have enough bodies. We don't have enough bodies. It's like you're fucking MGM. Like, come on, guys, get it together. So it was like
work in this country. TC.
Yeah, it was kind of like all those pollen little pods falling on all the things. And then I just wanted to give a shout out. It's not a Camilo necessarily.
It's a whole new category.
Camilo adjacent. Yeah, Carlota Segunda was leading heading into the final stroke play round, the third round, and she shot 85.
I did not see that.
Which was
wow,
really, really wild. Also, like we haven't even just talked about the elephant in the room with Nelly. She can putt now. Like she figured out how to putt. Like I can't remember who she saw, but she saw somebody this offseason, worked on her putting. I guess when she showed up, like she could barely make a 2-footer, and now looks like she's deadly confident with it. So, I mean, Soly, your thing, like she could win 15 times in a row this year. Like, you know, she's already over 25% of the way there, you know?
Does she win Chevron?
I think yes. Has had some success at that course last year. Was in it and playing with her C game. Was like pretty close to. I mean, she eagled the last hole to sort of.
But is it a major?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm in on the Chevron, out on the Evian. So
I think she'll win 2 of the 5. We'll say 2 of the 4 majors this year because Evian doesn't count. I think she wins at Lancaster, and then I think she wins KPMG Women's PGA. That's Soly as well.
I've still got some scar tissue when it comes to Nelly in the big spot, right? And I mean, it's unfair to expect her to win the Chevron. Like, no, Scotty Scheffler's a 4-1 favorite for the Masters, and like that's 25% chance.
I mean, is it unfair though? Like she's won she's won her last 4 starts.
It's still really freaking hard to mathematically like she would not be more. She's not going to be less than 5-1 to win, will she? I mean, I don't know. There's still a lot of really freaking good players out there that have had a lot of major championship success in recent years that I would not count out.
I think it's unfair to expect her A game to show up every week.
Yeah.
Can she win the Chevron with like not her best stuff, with a round where she shoots 74, you know, in the middle of it, and then figures out, okay, like I'm coming back, and can she have like a great comeback on the last day if she doesn't have it? Right?
Yeah,
I think
that's what we have not seen. You're exactly.
I will
right.
say she's won her first win this year was end of January. She won twice in March and then once in April. So she's spanning 3 or 4 months here as well. I would say the only maybe asterisk would be Lily Avu kind of falling off. I don't know if it's health or, you know, form or whatever. She's just not playing well right now. So,
yeah. All right, well, let's talk a little Augusta National Women's Amateur before we do that as we roll into Masters Week at AT&T. Connecting changes everything. Today, being connected is essential. Connectivity is truly the bridge to possibility, improving the way we move through our daily lives, succeeding in work and school, and having access to opportunities that may not have been possible before. That's why AT&T invests expertise and resources in the network constantly so customers can keep connected with every aspect of their lives. After all, connecting people is what AT&T does best, and each connection leads to greater possibility. Connecting changes everything. AT&T.
Soly, I'm back on my fiber line here at home. It's feels good to be home.
I miss it, TC, because I'm watching you on StreamYard and it's stuttering. It's not the same connection. We got a fast connection here, but man, the AT&T fiber makes a world of difference. But we're bringing in our own Jordan Perez, who has spent the last week here at the Augusta National Women's Amateur. TC was up here as well before he had to leave. If you did not get a chance to catch it, guys, I was streaming it on my phone literally during a wedding ceremony. I almost got in a lot of trouble for doing that, but Lottie Woad birdied the final 2 holes to track down Bailey Shoemaker, who shot a final round 66. Jordan, I think you were out following Bailey for the majority of her round. You probably thought you had the winner, followed all the way in.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was following Bailey from, it was about 13 fairway to 17 green, and then I just kind of plotted inside because I was like, okay, I know Lottie's coming. Like I granted, I think the perfect human experience is not having a cell phone
Oh,
whatsoever.
it's amazing.
But when you are
Amen.
working at
It's
Augusta
frustrating.
National, it's tough.
It's kind of a disconnecting changes everything moment too.
Yes. It is. It's like very overwhelming, and it makes you realize, one, how addicted you are to your phone, but two, like as soon as you accept it, it's like the greatest feeling in the world. Like, oh, I have 50,000 messages when I get back. I don't care. I'll get to them when I get to them.
Well, like the moment, like being in the moment too of like seeing something cool and not having the urge to like pull your phone out and take a picture of it or
Yeah.
tweet something about it or whatever. Like, no, I'm just filing that away in my memory bank. It's really, really nice. So anyway, Jordan, what was the deal out? Like how was the vibe out at Champions Retreat this year versus previous years? I know the conditions were kind of similar to Shadow Creek, and it was really windy out there, right?
Yes, especially in that second round. That second round got really chaotic. I was absolutely living. The gusts at one point were 36 miles per hour late in the afternoon. It was sick. First day, there was some overnight rain going into Tuesday into Wednesday, so it was playing just a little bit soft. Definitely achievable and scoreable for people. A lot of red numbers early. I was very, very looking forward to that wind on Thursday. Hannah Darling came out the first day and she shot I believe it was a 66, if I remember. She set a tournament record for 8 birdies, which was incredible. And it was interesting because I had watched Hannah a few years ago at the Curtis Cup at Marion, and she just looks night and day. And between her golf and the way that she kind of carries herself now was really cool. And I just want to put like that as a footnote, just to say that you should be seeing Hannah Darling on the Curtis Cup squad later this year. I think she's going to end up being one of the leaders of that team. And the US has kind of carried the torch in that for a while. And just based on this Lottie win, like GB and I looks really dangerous right now.
It was, I mean, Bailey Shoemaker's round today was clinical. It was awesome. Or I'm sorry, it's Saturday. It's bizarre to not to have a tournament finishing on Saturday, but it was like exactly how you should play the course. She was putting from all the same spots, all the right spots. She was walking in putts too. Like they were 6 to 9 inches out, and she just was immediately walking them in. The way this tournament has gone in the past, like we've seen, how many times have we seen the final group? I mean, Cupcho and Fossey, maybe a different
That was kind of the
question,
exception, right?
the exception,
Yeah.
but the final group has just struggled. Latana Stone had a tough go. Rose Zhang has had some, even the year she won, it was kind of touch and go there. You watch the pressure build, and it's not the same. Like during the Masters, when somebody's ahead on the leaderboard and on the course, and they've gone through 13 and 15, it's a bit of an illusion because like the guys behind you are going to play those holes and they're going to probably make birdie on them if they're playing well. And it just has felt, when the course is that firm, that slippery, that there was a decent amount of wind there and that many chances to screw up. And she was getting a little bit slow played, a little bit from Gianna Clement. It was a little frustrating to watch that part of it. And so it just felt like if Bailey got in the house at 6 under, she was going to be totally fine. And then she got in at 7, and that looked like it was donezo. And I mean, Lottie just was kind of plodding around, not really doing a whole heck of a lot. And then birdies 15, absolutely pipes a drive. She drives it so far. I mean, she was you were there and able to compare it, but like getting to spots in the course that no one else on TV was getting to. Wedges into 17, makes the birdie, hits an awesome drive on 18, has like 110 into 18, hits a perfect shot above the pin, rolls back down the slope and just puts it right in the middle and won it. I mean, it's like, I think you have to go back. Arnold Palmer in 60 birdied the last 2 holes to win by 1. And I don't know who else has done that at Augusta National. Birdie the last 2 to win by 1. Schwartzel birdied the last 4, but he won by 2. I feel like it's a big deal whenever somebody makes this point of that nobody has done that since Arnold Palmer in 1960. And there's probably a reason why. That was sick.
Yeah, it was, and God, the putts that she made to do it too were just emphatic, and it was really clinical. It was cool. It was like, whoa, okay. Like I thought we were for sure going to a playoff.
Yeah.
It almost felt that way in some senses because she had some pretty big birdie chances that she totally missed out on. And for me, I kind of when watching her at Champions, I was like, okay, your ball striking is just totally getting you everywhere here and there. And it's like that was kind of her life raft this week. And it was interesting to kind of hear comparing her and Hannah Darling, hearing them both talk. They were both very good win players for a reason. One's from Scotland, the other's from England. And obviously on Saturday at Augusta National, that wasn't necessarily an issue. But again, like you said, Solly, just getting to places on the course that no one else could. And it was just absolutely phenomenal. I just think of Lottie and you can't take it away from her. She just had such a great performance this week. And I kind of love putting contextualizing Champions Retreat in how much that matters at this event because so much of what you do there it's just like it's big time. Like I think about when Anna Davis won and there was one round at Champions Retreat that she played exceptionally well. I think back to Latana Stone too and could have had a little more back there too. And so I don't know. It's interesting, and I kind of segue into this to open it up to, like, thinking, like, I know the conversation is a lot of, "Hey, we should play all 3 rounds at Augusta National," but I love what Champions asks of the players that play it, because traditionally, you have to be 2 different types of players to play well at Champions Retreat, and you have to be another type of player to play well at Augusta National. I think we saw a little bit of that from Bailey Shoemaker,
Yeah.
but from Lottie Woad, she had the full package.
Well, that was the funny thing when Bailey was getting interviewed afterward. The first thing she said was like, "Champions Retreat's the hardest golf course in the world for me." And like getting to Augusta National and thinking it opens up and that you can get out and run there. I just found that comment to be particularly interesting. But
Yeah, it's crazy too, just the thought of sitting there waiting to play Augusta for a full 24 hours. You're waiting 24 hours to play the practice round, and then you wait another 24 hours after that to tee it up. And it was cold out there that morning too. I mean, it was very like kind of there was a little frost delay letting the patrons in the gates, and then from there it was just kind of off to the races for Bailey. Yeah, I don't know. I think the one of the cooler things too is like seeing where all these ladies go to college. I think like Lottie goes to Florida State, Bailey goes to USC, and Jordan like Bailey played a full season of Epson Tour.
Yes.
So explain that to me. Like what was that thought process or what was that decision making like?
So I think she played Q School at the end of 2022. And so she
Okay.
got some status there. And the thought was that she almost considered turning professional before she even went to school, was thinking of doing a one and done, almost just kind of wanting to, forego the college process in some way or another. And then she gave it a chance. This is somewhat of a similar trajectory to her teammate Amari Avery. Gives it a chance and she just says she's loved it and it's contributed massively to her game. I was talking to her head coach, Justin Silverstein, and he said when Bailey came in that she had one of the biggest draws that they had ever seen. And so they've kind of been working on integrating fade a little bit more. And it was interesting to hear her talk on Saturday saying, like, I was fighting a fade all day. Like, I really was. And hey, I mean, it worked out for her. That is a drawer's course. And I want to make this connection too because about a month ago I went out to watch USC at Meadow Club and obviously lots of similarities there, wide open fairways, crazy undulated greens, and Bailey was just hitting the
Alistair
ball.
McKenzie.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah. But Bailey was hitting the ball really well during her practice round. Granted, course was totally soaked, but she was hitting it very well there. So there was definitely some momentum from that, and I think that carried over. And she had a great opening round too. There, I think she shot pretty low, but then kind of collapsed, and that was something she'd been struggling with coming into ANWA. She would play well in some really good stretches, and then just couldn't put 3 good rounds together. And I'd say she came as close to that as she possibly could this past week.
she shot 66 in round 3. Nobody else shot better than 69. Only 9 players even broke par on that day. I love tuning in and watching this because I love the different angles of Augusta National. I love the different golf shots. It's just, I love watching the Masters, but you kind of get used to seeing the same exact shot on 8, the same exact shot on 15 the whole way around, and totally different views. And a couple times you just got a double take. And like I was watching that final group on Saturday and watching Gianna hit it over into the right trees, but it kicked back out into the fairway. So she's coming off this downslope from like 130, 140, trying to get a ball to go in the funnel there on the 7th hole. And it's like a totally, again, coming of the height and the spin that a female puts on it compared to a male professional is totally different. So all the aspects of it were different. And it's just a really, really cool introduction into the week. And
Soly, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I think the been to the Masters a bunch, and everything feels optimized for the men.
Yeah.
Like, it's you're seeing the same trajectory, you're seeing largely the same shapes and the same holes, you're seeing them, kind of hit it at the same spots. And there's such a wide variety of shot shapes, trajectories, spin rates, course management strategies for these ladies. It's a really fascinating tournament to watch. And sorry, to that shot on 7, I stood there a couple or 3 years ago when I went to ANWA. I stood there and watched that shot, and again, and like I would never stand there on 7 and watch the men play that shot.
right.
And props to Augusta this year too. I felt like the hole locations were really were more imaginative than they have been in years past. Like the whole location on 4 was standout. 3, great one on 15, but 7 was in that little bowl on the right there. And watching the ladies, control their spin, how far they wanted to take it up on the ridge. Saw a couple ladies play ping pong between the 2 bunkers. A few spun it off the front of the green and went all the way back down 7 fairway. But that was such a, the greens were really bouncy, and it was such a perfect kind of encapsulation of the challenges inherent there at Augusta. Something else I noticed too is, man, pace of play, like Gianna Clemente,
Thank you.
Lindblad,
Ingrid.
from Sweden. Yeah, I mean, just brutal, like joyless golf. Like I'm like, man, like hit the ball. And they penalized Anna Davis after Champions Retreat, 2nd year in a row. She gets penalized for something, but kind of takes it standing up there, misses the cut by 1 because
By
of the
1,
penalty.
By
that
one.
penalty was
Yeah.
very, very, very
But
impactful.
but man, I'm kind of hoping, I would like to see them take a stand on slow play a little bit and kind of move to the forefront and be the vanguards of, hey, let's enforce the rules here, because I think it is a part of the game. And there were certain spots where, I mean, I was watching Lindblad on 15, and I mean, she must have taken 3.5 minutes to hit the second shot on 15. It was crazy. And it's like time should be a factor.
And that's where I tend to downplay pace of play on this show, because it's usually when we're talking about it, it's like threesomes off both sides. Is that part of like, dude, there's nowhere to go. Like that's the biggest part of slow play in pro golf is like the traffic problem. But when you get in twosomes and it's weekend and everybody's going off 1 tee, like you go, like everybody goes. And it's not always impactful on the TV product, but it is unfair to your playing competitor to force them to have to play faster in order to keep pace. And that's the stuff that the rules need to get a little bit more drilled down. And like, if you fall behind pace, both players are punished the same, and that you get put on the clock and now you're timed for strokes. And that's unfair to the person that has not been playing fast. And that's unnecessary stress on or not been playing slow and unnecessary stress on them. That's where I was feeling of like, that's where I was not feeling the momentum for Lottie. Was just like Gianna was taking forever. I mean, It was egregious, really. And I hate, I don't like when we get a chance to spotlight women's golf and we talk that much about the pace, but when it gets that bad to that point, it's like, it's kind of difficult to ignore. I mean, everybody was talking about it. Bones mentioned it, it's very complimentary. Of course, he called her deliberate. She's a good enough player. If you're a good enough player, you're deliberate. If you're bad, you're slow. So he did give her that compliment, but it's tough, man. It really is tough. And I applaud Lottie even more for making it past all that distraction. She was just standing up at her ball, just waiting. Like that 7th hole was ridiculous. It just took forever.
Guys, can I weigh in a little bit on the Anna penalty? First of all, I thought that was so
Please.
annoying. So annoying. Day 1, Wednesday at Champions, it was a group behind Anna, and watching Sambach, Yana Wilson, and Rocio Tejado from Spain. And 2 times that group got told that they were out of position. That group was playing really fast already, so fast. And I remember getting to a par 3 and just standing there for like 5 or 6 minutes waiting for Anna's group to clear. And I was like, are you kidding? And granted, I couldn't really tell who the problem was in
Right.
that moment, but it was just grating. Now, I want to say this. Thursday, pace of play was a massive problem across the board. And that's where I get annoyed with the enforcement of this, because it's like, if you're going to call out Anna for bad times, of which she did have, call it across the board. I saw Ingrid
Yeah.
be a little bit slow out there, but a lot of players were. It was that windy. It was just,
Yeah.
it was difficult. But like, you're going to focus in on past champ, which it just doesn't feel right to me. And I'm all for enforcing it, but let's be a little bit fair.
You're
Well, I
saying
think
that they should penalize a 14-year-old amateur instead of an 18, 19, 20-year-old.
Actually, they totally should. They should learn young, because in college golf, it is egregious. They are so used to playing slow.
Jordan's probably too young for that, TC. That's 10 years ago now. Tianlong Guan was penalized a 14-year-old amateur on the men's side.
I kept hearing that this week, and I was like, yeah, that was my pre-golf days. So.
Yeah, I think the other thing, it seems like a few of the members' tees are probably like, it's kind of funny we're talking about like, oh, you think there's a problem with distance in the game? Where like some of the members' tees are too far up for some of the longer hitters, both within the membership, talking to some of them, and within the women's amateur ranks, where like Lottie had flip wedges into some long par fours, or some par fours that are supposed to be long and supposed to have those similar shot values, right?
Yeah.
So
it for some reason though with her it felt a little more earned than some of it does on the men's side, in terms of like the scale was just different for her, and it didn't look like she was swinging hard either, but she just ended up in spots that were like, man, it's pretty hard to screw it up from there. And and we've not seen that on the women's side of like the longest players just both in professional and amateur, the longest players just like dominating. So that was one of the first times I've seen, Nelly hits it really far, obviously, but I would not call her, I wouldn't say she's dominated up until very recently, but that was just like, whoa, I don't know how you really beat that if you're going to hit it that far, wedge it that good, and putt that good. So
it's so interesting to see some of these ladies with one shot shape jamming certain shots into certain holes, like watching, some of these ladies hit into 12, or, hit one into, try to hit that draw into 13, or, there's just, it's fascinating to hold some of these greens. And then I followed Haley Borgia quite a bit, because I like watching her play. She's scrappy. She doesn't hit it far, like just hits it really, really solid with the irons. She kind of got a case of the lefts going. She rinsed a couple on 16.
that was tough.
And it was like, man, you got this massive slope out to the right. But it was just really, really interesting. It was like, because like she was playing almost a perfect round of golf prior to that. She had a great shot into 7. I think she birdied a couple after that, and then kind of had that train wreck coming in. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it kind of gives me hope for both the European Solheim Cup team, that there's so many Swedes in the field. There's some Italians, there's some Spaniards. It's a really, and most of them go to SEC schools. It's always crazy to see like the number of South Carolina, LSU, Arkansas, a little bit of Arizona State, a little bit of Oklahoma State, but a lot of SEC, and then Florida State on the ACC side too. So a lot of Florida as well. No Georgia. Not a single Georgia player in the field, I don't think, or at least they made the cut. So a couple other things I had, Soly. It was a lot more crowded than I was there 2 or 3 years ago. It felt like they sold a lot, like kind of offered a lot more tickets out to it. It was just, that was noticeable right off the bat. It seemed like a ton of people were heading straight to the merchandise tent. The lines for the merchandise were insane, and I heard that some people were just basically using tickets to go to the merchandise tent, get first crack, and then like not even going to watch the
Boo.
golf. Yeah, which is insane. So that was disappointing. I know concessions prices are up slightly. Some of the beer prices are up a full $1. Some of the other things are up 50 cents or so.
In this
But
economy?
exactly. I mean, if anything, they're not even keeping up with the pace of inflation right now.
That's true.
Soly, so the WAGR, the World Amateur Golf Ranking, continues to be a complete disgrace. Bailey Shoemaker was the second worst ranked player in the field, you said, Jordan?
Yes, 155.
It's just, there's massive issues on the boys' side as well, there's all sorts of there's some manipulation going on, Soly, and I think you should take a closer look at it. Jim Colton's highlighted it a little bit. A lot of guys from Japan, Latin America getting in via just some weird kind of some very specious qualifications, I'll say.
I don't want to call them coasters, but they might be coasting a little bit.
That's interesting. I'll look into that, TC. If I hate to see you all worked up about some of them foreigners gobbling up points outside the Americas.
Well,
So-
especially as we know that the Asia Pacific AM, the Latin America AM, like they're doing good things with it. You just want to make sure that the right people are getting in from those countries and from those regions of the world.
Yeah, the Wagger. I will not swear by the Wagger. I don't think I understand it, but I don't hear a lot of great things about it. But anything else from your notebook, Jordan, from ANWA week?
Can we talk coverage since you
Sure.
were the one watching it on TV?
Of course.
That window, that's a tough window. I don't like that. We started playing golf at 8 a.m.
It was on from 12 to 3 o'clock, I think, was the window.
Yes.
I think that is, it feels it is much like old school Masters of like, yeah, this is what we're going to show you, and this is what you're going to get. It's
They pop in a little bit on the pregame show,
Yeah.
but it's like, hey guys, like, can we just show the leaders full round?
Yeah.
Like, just start with that because it's, But I will say, when they are televising, it seemed like a good product based on
Yes.
everything I heard.
Yes.
it was.
Okay.
It was
That's good
good.
to hear.
Yeah, it was not overly commercialized, and then it flowed right into Valero, which of course was heavily commercialized. But no, it obviously a huge effort from getting Bones out there is fantastic, and it Tarico and everything. It just feels like a big event. It feels like a massive event, and that's one we won't put on NBC. That's not if they would broadcast 6 hours of it if they were allowed to. But Augusta says this is how much we're going to be on TV, and that's why we're going to do it. So
It also shows that NBC is capable of good coverage.
totally.
Right? It's Brian Roberts wants to showcase his club. Why can't you showcase the rest of the golf, my man? Come on, you guys are capable of it. So also, I wanted to give a shout out. I caught some of the drive, chip, and putt today. Some of the youngsters, especially in that, the sub 14, 15-year-old youngsters, some great swings, like legitimately like Joaquin Neiman-esque stuff. I was like, man, that's like crazy athletic.
This must have had a huge impact on you being here, TC, because that you're coming around here on the drive, chip, and putt. That's a massive development here.
I still don't, and Akshay obviously was a drive,
Yeah.
chip, and putt alum, first one to play in that. Still a little bit out on the oldest division there, but we can let bygones be bygones. I do think that they need to at least do like a tougher wedge shot or a tougher chip for the olds, for the at least like the 12 through 15 year
God,
olds.
course setup for the drive, chip, and putt from TC. This is peak. This is perfect. I love this.
I'm just trying to, never settle.
Trying to identify the
right?
best. All right,
Yeah.
we're trying to identify the best. So
Perfection is unattainable. That's like the Augusta way,
that's very good. So, all right. Well, Jordan, thank you very much for your hard work this past week. It's been a pleasure to follow and read along, and we appreciate you hopping on here. So,
Thank you for having me. Also, one quick note, because I really need to clarify this for everyone. It is not ANWA officially. It is not ANWA, but it is the Augusta National Women's Amateur. Not my words.
correct, but
that's too many syllables.
it's a lot.
It's
But also,
too
like
much.
they did an ad for ANWA Golf or ANWA Golf, and like Tarico had to read that out on the telecast. And he
Yes.
said, I forget which one he used, but I think there. I was waiting to see. I was like, oh, how's he going to get away with this one? How's he going to call it Augusta National Women's Amateur? But we can debate. Maybe we can debate that in a future episode. So,
I'll always say ANWA.
okay. Well, thank
Jordan,
you for that.
did you get one of the sweaters? Were you able to attain one of those?
No, I did not. I think the price tag kind of hurts a little bit. I also have a few ANWA things already, and I decided to kind of restrain myself a little bit. I was like, that sweater is dope. Sickest thing ever, but the thing is, it's just like you have the same tournament logo, same stuff. You're kind of in your closet. It's like, okay, like cluttering up a little bit here. Like
I've never bought one and gotten home and be like, God, I'm glad I bought this. Like it's almost always like, dude, I'm never gonna wear this. Why
Yes.
did I
That
buy this?
sweater was fire though. It's this white
is fire.
sweater with the flowery logo on it with red and yellow and green. It's really, really sharp.
All right,
So,
I'll keep my eyes.
I don't even know if they made it in a men's, but Soly, if you see it in like a a women's large or something. We snag me one.
I will definitely do that. So
I'm ready to see it on StockX for like $1,500.
Yeah.
it's probably going to happen. Probably
Real
already has by
problem
now.
there too. Like there needs to be something done on that front, just
I
with
agree.
the secondary market. So
So, all right. Thank you, Jordan. We're going to bring KBV back in here, the journalist here to help us because TC's going to have to answer for his cliques.
wow.
I think, yeah.
Well, all right.
All right.
First of all, speaking of answering for something, what happened with you getting your rental car today?
Look, I made a reservation. It was a total Seinfeld situation from my friends at Avis. I made a reservation for a car. They took the reservation, but there was no car when I got there. It was a massive line. They failed to hold the reservation. I had to wait for about an hour for a car. Sepp Straka was waiting behind me, so it wasn't, I wasn't necessarily getting the CBS people got to skip the line. That was a little bit tough. But look, I mean,
official rental car of the PGA Tour, though, right?
I know that
Soly, how do you not have like a thing where you can walk right to your car?
you normally can. I do have that. I'm a President's Club member, but it wasn't available.
Sounds like an American Airlines kind of thing. Come on over to Hertz.
Yeah.
Right?
Or national.
I actually get the status through my American status, but
before a trap draw breaks out.
We had a great little afternoon. I know you got to scout out some of the changes in the golf course as well, TC. But we stumbled up to the 18th or the first tee and watched just people roll through. I saw Scotty Scheffler was playing a practice round with his sister today, which was pretty cool to see. She looked pretty darn nervous, but I'd never been there.
Scotty had a sister.
I didn't really know that either. I didn't know that what Sunday before the Masters is like, that there's members out there playing. There's a ton of past champs playing. It was wild to just like sit there and Tom Watson rolls through, Gary Player rolls through, Larry Mize, Marco Mira. I mean, Mike Weir, Fuzzy Zeller, Fred Couples, like all these dudes. And there's no fans allowed past the drive, chip, and putt. So I'm just like standing there watching these dudes. When am I ever going to see Gary Player tee off the 10th tee at Augusta ever again? So I stood there watching that, and it was
real quick on the Gary Player thing. Did you guys see him with the
giving the talk to the drive, chip, and putt kid?
For the competition?
You've got to get in here, just chip. Listen, you've got to use the leading edge. None of this bounce talk.
This is overseeded rye, my dear.
Who's your coach, young man? He's crazy. Listen, back in my day.
Listen, I've won this tournament more times than you've ever chipped a ball. Oh, that was fantastic. He's a great. I watched him. He was getting a drink at the turn, and he was like looking at the labels of everything that he was pulling out, all the sugary drinks. He was putting all the sugary drinks back, and I think he landed on some low-cal body armor or something like that.
No lie, Trevor sent this over to us, but that video of Gary running on the treadmill and then running backwards when it was up on 10 was like legitimately amazing. Unbelievable. Look that up on Twitter. Gary posted it on his own Twitter, and it's for an 85, 86-year-old man to be able to do that is incredible.
Yeah. He was having a great time out there. It was all-time vibes. I was getting ready to head back into the club or the press building, and somebody just gave me a teeny tiny tip of like, hey, just maybe wait around just a second. And I was like, huh? Oh, I think I know why. And sure enough, Sunday Red came rolling out of the locker room, going to go hit a couple putts. Sunday Red, excuse me. Hitting a couple putts on the putting green. He actually had like an old, he had his normal gamer putter, but like an old, like almost, I don't even know how to describe it, like a heel shafted, almost like Calamity Jane style putter that he was using as like some kind of like training practice device of some kind. He would like hit a couple putts with his Scotty, and then he would go to the other one just to like, I could kind of hear him talking about it. It's like throwing a changeup. It's like throwing a changeup. I don't really know what that means, but he was doing some kind of drill with another putter, and then took a couple clubs and just started walking the front nine and was just going to chip and putt around a bunch of greens, but walking totally fine, looked rusty putting. I watched him putt one off the green on the putting green.
Oh,
but
it's over. He can't win.
He can't win. You could dial it up, I'm sure, between now and then. But it was very cool to watch Tiger stroll around there with almost no attention at Augusta. It was probably once in a lifetime too.
Can he win? What if he wins?
We got like 3 hours of preview stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of master stuff we can cover in there. But
speaking of preview stuff, the Woodland feature that ESPN did.
Yeah.
Adam Schefter tweeted it out. That's where I saw it today. It was fantastic. It's great.
Jeff Darlington, one of my friends, and usually covers the NFL. Good good reporter, good feature person. So ESPN does that right.
Yeah,
I haven't caught
absolutely.
that. I'll seek that out. But you want to talk about your Live Miami? Did you catch a bunch of that today, TC?
So, first of all, I wanted to ask you about the JT bone split.
Okay.
Hashtag free Justin, because I think this one sounds a lot like there's some big Mike Thomas in there, throwing his weight around possibly, and it could be. I'm worried about JT. He needs to take control of his life. He needs to. I'm worried there might be a conservatorship or something going on there where he's kind of like Britney Spears, where he can't get away from his parents, can't make his own decisions. So
I have no insight into the situation, TC. That sounds maybe a bit aggressive. I don't know if there's gonna be a documentary made about this necessarily, but no, I really don't know what's happened here. This is the second time that we've seen Bones split off from a multi-major champion, very close to right on the on the eve of a major championship. And I don't know the full story. I'm sure we'll get some kind of insight into it in some way, but yeah,
he
I
turned the
don't have anything
comments
to add.
off too.
Did. You know what though? If I was a
On the
celebrity, I would
gram.
turn the comments off on every tweet. I'd be like, "You want to fucking talk shit to me? Quote tweet me, bitch."
Quote tweet me, bitch.
I don't need that shit clouding up my timeline.
Oh God, there would be absolutely no reason to ever read.
God, that
what
should
any
be
of
a
that-
shirt. Quote tweet
tweet me, bitch. We get that dialed up by tomorrow morning, I'm sure. But
Also,
Also-
know, like,
yeah.
I mean, we assume it's JT who made the decision, but maybe Bones said, I don't really want to do this anymore. Do you
Could
want
be.
to do this? Like, who knows? Look,
Yeah.
I think it's really insane that this came out a week before the Masters. I can't imagine another caddy would be more beneficial than Bones week before the Masters. But honestly, like, the results haven't been awesome. They've been a little better this year. Last year they were bad. He's kind of eaten a lot off of that first, that major that they won together. And you'd think, like, I think we all thought, oh, this is a sign of things to come. Like, on tournaments when he doesn't have his best, he still can win the tournament, and he can win 2-3 more majors at least. And he's kind of, after that miscut of the Players, obviously I would think that something there was like, hey, we can't continue down this same path. That would be my guess.
Weirdly, I feel a lot like how I did with Nelly with JT. Of kind of a wonky putter, has all the shots, wildly talented. Like I think the world of JT's golf game. I think he's got more variety in his game than just about anybody else out there as far as tee to green. And yeah, there's just something, I don't know. It's like I'm waiting for it to click and it just hasn't.
It's hard to say, like it's hard to sit here and say, like, maybe they just didn't mesh well, didn't gel well. They don't speak the same language when they won a major together, right? And then have been together for quite some time. But that could still be the case of just whatever reason that the situation's not ideal. I mean, caddy player relationships are really fickle, and if you all of a sudden just start to get the wrong vibes between the two of you for whatever reason, again, I'm just totally guessing. I don't have any information on any of this, but you can just want to change the scenery. And it is weird to me, like, that Bones will not be caddying the Masters.
It is
Like that just seems like a massive waste of his talent, and he could help a lot of people I know save a couple shots around Augusta National. But
Selfishly, I hope he goes back to commentating more, because I think
I
we're
know.
better off for it as fans.
I want to see. He needs to get out from NBC and go to CBS. I want to see him with CBS. I think someone that's investing a little bit more in the product. I think he would work really well with that team. I know.
God,
it doesn't
Bones
usually
and
happen.
Colt and Trevor tossing it back and forth.
If the conditions are right, you could get Bones up in here any minute.
Guys, you see this thing about Tiger from the New York Post cutting out sex? He's taking a vow of celibacy in his Masters lead up. He's focused, says a friend of the 48-year-old golfer. He's working really hard in the gym. He's eating right. He's even eliminated sex, unquote.
Listen, the New York Post, God bless it, it has a place in our society. There's so much that appears in there that's just utterly full of shit. Or
what friend called up the New York Post and was like,
right.
"Let me tell you about Tiger's current sex life here."
First of all, like, what friends does Tiger have that he would tell this to? All right, we kind of know who Tiger's friends are on one hand, and I don't think like Noda or like Byron Bell or like Steve Stricker is calling the New York Post for this. So this is like a friend of a friend of a friend.
Maybe they're talking to one of his lady friends.
That could be
Going right to the source.
I just in general, like the Post does do some occasionally good sports stuff, but this was not like one of their sports reporters. This was sort of like one of their gossip reporters. This is the kind of shit that's funny and like, you know, what 7-8 years ago on this pod we would have laughed about this shit forever, but like it's not the kind of stuff that I feel particularly like comfortable in like laughing about. This is still like a person's life, right? His
Right.
kids who are now old enough to read this stuff. I don't know what the right answer is and stuff. It's just weird.
Maybe when we have like Bryson's comments, like that makes me laugh a lot harder now than like Tiger sex jokes now, right?
Yeah,
So
I don't
also
know. I mean,
Brian Bell. It's a common misconception. It's
Yeah.
Brian Bell, just spelled really
it's kind of
funky.
like it was kind of like was it Brian Russell or Byron?
Exactly.
Russell?
I don't
It's just
know,
the
yeah.
same thing, right?
Look, if
Um,
it's true and Tiger does really well, then my God, like let's have our dude wins with the celibate Tiger winning majors. You know, he's connected with his Buddhism again. Who knows?
Yeah, but also I don't know. I think there's enough there with Tiger. Where it's like there's a dong shot floating around on the internet of Tiger. There's all this stuff for like a good 15 years. There was like him putting himself in these positions. So I don't think it's necessarily completely out of bounds either. And you know what, KVV, I hope Cannizzaro comes up and punches you in the mouth in the media center and protects the New York Post's honor.
I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to be all right there. I think John, Mark and I are very friendly. This is not a thing that he reported.
Yeah.
So,
No, I know. I'm kidding.
All right. Well, you've been deflecting on this, TC. There's a question from Suds Muffin. He said, "Why is Martin Keimer still the captain of the Cleeks when he hasn't contributed a score in multiple tournaments and Dick Bland is on the roster?" Wow.
Yeah, no, Soly, in fact, I have not been deflecting on this. I've been the one asking this question all over social this week and in the weeks leading up to LIV-Miami. The Cleeks went out. When you count 3 scores, they tend to play really well, and then they get to day 4 and Kaye Samuja and Martin Keimer just fill their pants. And Blandy and Moronk can only do so much. Blandy finished tied for 14th this week, the all-important top 14 finish. And like it was pretty I watched some of it this afternoon. Doral was playing pretty tough. Joaquin was putting together a good score. Obviously, your man Dean Burmester got it done in a playoff over Sergio. Brandon Grace comes in and sprays Sergio with champagne. Sergio off afterwards. Or there could be a rivalry developing between the South Africans and the Spaniards there. But no, the Cleeks, I think they were in striking distance of a podium. They had a really good shot at like a second or third place finish.
They finished 9th. I didn't seeing this.
Yeah, Rom's Legion 13 team was kind of running away with it, and then Keimer goes out and shoots 76 in the final round. Samuja shoots 77. Just not good at all. Keimer hasn't done shit all year. It's like I feel like I'm getting really, really exhausted following this franchise.
What if TC? What if we sent you to Adelaide and had you ask these questions? I don't even know if they have press conferences. Like I think they do, where they take questions from them.
Well, I mean, Greg Norman called Adelaide the best. It was voted the best golf tournament in the world.
It's true.
And he told Good Morning Adelaide in that in between them complimenting on him on the size of his dong.
Quite literally, they started and finished with the size of his dong in that interview.
No, but yeah, you know what? Like, if not Adelaide, that might be a little far to go. Okay. If not Adelaide, maybe I could go to Singapore, right? Maybe I could use that as my opportunity to fly Singapore Airlines, or maybe I could, go to Houston or Nashville in the middle of the summer, which I really, really don't want to do. I think I'd rather fly to Singapore. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. The Cleeks, it just feels like we're so freaking close. It feels, and then it's like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And it all comes back to Keimer. Like at some point, the captain needs to be able to get relegated because it's one of those franchises that it's a non-equity franchise. Like Keimer doesn't have equity in the franchise either. So, and Blandy's put this fucking team on his back for the last, season and a half now.
I never know.
I don't know if it's a bit anymore. Guys, the whole time I'm like, I think he's serious.
It was a bit, and now I legitimately invested in the Cleeks. I swear to God, it's like I can't not care. Blandy, Blandy keeps shocking everyone. Like, he's really fucking good.
It's played really good.
I think among
Yeah.
the crooked media, the cliques get more coverage than anybody because of this podcast. I think you're doing a great job, TC, of holding your fan base and your franchise accountable. I'd like to see some of the other people step up. I'd like to see some of the other people in the media out there. You know, what's going on with the Rippers or, you know, the range goats? Why, you
Yeah.
know, they haven't been successful either. And yet you don't hear anybody calling for their captains.
It's
I mean,
almost like nobody cares.
The range goats are
crazy.
kind of Jekyll and Hyde. They finished second this week, one shot behind Legion 13. You know, the Ripper Cam Smith withdrew with food
Yeah.
poisoning. I think, you know,
I
but
had never heard of fill him in like a
yeah,
true
Ben
seat holder
Campbell.
situation.
Yeah.
Is that a professional golfer?
Leash was playing well, you know, but it's one of those things. I saw a Cleeks supporter climbed up into a tree down at Doral today and identified Blandy's ball that was in a tree.
Wow.
That's the kind of people. That's who we are as Cleeks. We're
Best fans of
Cle-
golf.
We're Cleeks in the streets and freaks in the bed. You feel me?
When it freaks in the sheets, wouldn't that have been an easier rhyme?
Yeah, that works too. I butchered that. It just came to me, man. You know what? But all right. So and then Majestics and High Flyers both finished tied for dead last. Like both
High
teams
Flyers are
fucking
just trash,
horrible.
man. I don't even understand. Like, if I'm supposed to take this serious, why is Mickelson like clearly not even trying to?
Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to comment on chess move number 7? Wait until you see chess moves 32
All
through
right.
37.
Maybe he shorted his own.
You have
franchise.
no
I have
vision.
no idea.
You have absolutely no vision for this thing or any understanding of how the High Flyers are going to build a franchise, Kevin. That's just that's all on you.
They're getting
You know-
beat by the fucking Ironheads, guys. Bad.
Does it matter that Rahm hasn't won one of these tournaments yet? Right? He hasn't won yet. I don't think. Is it seem
He hasn't won. I don't think it matters.
I mean, he played fine. He was, you know, he finished like tied for 4th this week.
Sure.
Yeah, he's played fine. He should win these tournaments, but I mean, are you saying like does it matter for Masters week?
I think so, right? Like it
I don't
doesn't matter
think so.
for Live because it doesn't.
Right.
We know it doesn't matter for Live.
Right.
If he'd won every single Live tournament, I don't think it would have moved the needle. So
Well, I mean,
it kind of pissed me off too. They bumped up some of the tees today on the par 3s, and I think that kind of played against Rahm a little bit too. So,
but
stupid fucking putting contest.
that I hated seeing, you know, Dean Burmester. It sounded like he was shocked that this win didn't get him in the Masters. Tom Boulay is asking him. He's like, yeah, you beat 13 guys that are going to be playing in the Masters next week. Do you think you should be there? Like, pretty seriously sounded like he kind of thought he played good enough to get a Masters invite.
So why even do this at this point? Like again,
that's all they know. It's one note.
It's just exactly. It's playing the grievance button over and over again. Like it's not exactly like Fred Ridley's going to be watching this and be like, you know, boys, like, I really think Dean Burmester should be here this week. Let's get him on an airplane and get him in here. Like that's not happening. So what audience are you playing to at this point? Like I don't get it at all.
I'm wondering if this is maybe good news for your cliques, TC. We saw that Saudi Arabia is going to be greatly scaling back the NEOM project. It was once projected to have 1.5 million people living in this line city of however many 100 miles long, as tall as the Empire State Building. Only 300,000 people are now projected to live there. So does that free up a bunch of money for the cliques to go spend this offseason? Like, are they repurposing a lot of this funding for their citizens for this golf league, do you think?
It could. I think the cliques obviously need more resources. They're firmly like a middle market team that, you know, they're trying to punch above their weight, doing more with less kind of thing. Meanwhile, you know, the goats and the crushers and all these
Where
guys.
are they based? If they're a market, like what's the
King Abdul Economic City?
I think they're like team, you know, I think they're like the EU team, right? Okay. You got Finland represented, you got Germany represented, you've got Blandy's a citizen of the world. I'm sure he's doing I'm sure Blandy's probably has a place in the Bahamas at this point for tax reasons or you know, the Middle East. And then you've got Poland represented as well. So it could be, you know, maybe it's a NATO team.
Oh,
right.
Well, I'm just finally glad that we have a leader that has emerged and, you know, kind of solving some of these problems that we see in golf, maybe, this divided, fractured landscape, if you will. There's a comment that came out from this week that said, the only answer is for us to somehow come together in some sort of terms where it makes sense and for us to be playing again in somewhat of the same boat. It's great to have the majors where we come together, but we want to be competing. At least I want to be competing every week with the best players in the world for sure. And it needs to happen fast. It's not a 2-year thing. Like, it needs to happen quicker rather than later, just for the good of the sport. Too many people are losing interest. That is, of course, from Bryson DeChambeau, who left the PGA Tour for this LIV Golf League, sued those guys as well after leaving out of principle, I believe he said, and once claiming all of the wonders of LIV Golf. Now he's desperately looking for the guy that did this, that fractured this game, and wants to get it back together. So that was some special stuff. I was taking a break from Twitter, and I came back. I was 2 days late on that one, and I was like, that was in the models. That was going to happen. I was going to miss a good Bryson quote because that one was special.
I'm really excited to see Bryson this week. Like, it feels like he's kind of ramping back up as far as like saying outrageous shit, doing.
I need
social
pressers
stuff
from these LIV guys. I need like Phil press conference. I want some of these guys to get some maybe do we think Augusta's trying to avoid that? Do we think they're saying no to the opportunity from Augusta? I need to hear from these guys.
I saw Brooks has one.
He does.
Obviously, Rahm has one. Anybody else have one?
I do not think so. I think they're the only two. Look, Phil, whatever you think of him, 20 years ago, he won the Masters for the first time. It does feel a little bit weird to not have a presser for him.
He finished second last year.
Yeah, like I think we've ripped Phil, we've made fun of Phil, we've laughed at Phil, we've enjoyed Phil.
Maybe he doesn't want one.
That's what I'm saying.
I think there's a chance of that, but I would love to, if he did want one, I would think that he should have had an opportunity extended to him. If we're gonna have these guys compete, then like, let's get him out there and let's have him do his. Phil can be. Last year was, if you remember, it was so weird. He didn't speak to anyone during the entire Champions Dinner. A couple people, some of the old guys, sort of passed that word along. He was being super like cold and weird. And then like he kind of got back into it. His first round, he had sort of a wild first round. And then he was really engaging and fun. For the first time, it was the first time since he went to LIV that he didn't seem like he'd been lobotomized. And it was fun. It was like fun to have the old Phil back, like cracking jokes and, telling how this is why I hit driver out of the middle of the fairway on 8. And I that was the only, he was like, I've hit a ton of bad shots here. So trust me, I know what can go wrong when that shit happens. And that was fun. I was like, man, this is the Phil guy that I wanted to have for the last, whatever left of his career. And if he's willing to be that guy, then great. Let's have him out here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just putting all this aside for a week, and we're gonna do a full Masters preview. That'll be out Monday night, and we'll have happy hour Wednesday. A lot of Masters talk to be had, but we will not have the best iron player in the game over the last 20 years. In the field this week, that is, of course, Mr. Greg Norman, referring to one Taylor Gooch. Which
he said that?
Yes, he's the best iron player in the game of golf in the past 20 years that I've personally.
That sounds like something I would say.
Exactly.
About like Tommy or somebody,
Greg obviously believes in the eye test. He just doesn't. He hasn't seen it from Tiger. He hasn't seen it from Scotty.
John Rahm said, hey, he had some comments this week. He said, I say the same thing. I always say to this. I think there's room for both in all of this, and for LIV Golf and the PGA Tour, which there's no evidence that supports that. Phil had some comments as well. Like, yeah, right now we're in the disruption phase, but we're in the middle of the process. When it's all said and done, it's going to be a lot brighter. But while we go through it, it's challenging, but we'll get there. Just want to remind people he got $200 million for all this. There's no disruption phase if he doesn't get paid off to do all this.
Also, so he said that the PGA Tour was on its way down. I think LIV's on the way up, and I like where I'm at.
Totally.
And you talked a lot of shit about Jay Monahan and all that.
I mean, if you follow the caffeine TV ratings,
that's true.
It's true. Who could say?
It's huge in barbershops and airports and.
Anthony Kim had maybe the best technology related quote we've had in years from a professional player. He said, the game's changed so much. I thought that when I first got on tour with titanium drivers, but now it's come to a point where you don't have to hit a ball in the center and you can get the same amount of yardage and accuracy as somebody who does hit it in the center. Obviously, not being a huge guy, my advantage was being able to hit the ball in the middle of the face and be in the fairway. But now everybody's hitting it long. Everyone's hitting it semi-straight, so it ends up being a bomber's putting contest. And I'm not the longest guy out here, but using the right technology, I'm hitting it a little bit further, and hopefully I'll make a couple putts this week. Done deal.
Farther,
Done
farther,
deal.
Anthony.
It's sick quote, yeah. But
I hate seeing him find out what Bryson found out last week in his social video as well. You know,
I mean, just print that out. He hasn't played golf in like 12 years. He's hitting it farther, and he's just saying it doesn't matter if you hit it in the center of the face. Done deal. Move on.
Also, by the way, it did not go particularly well for him this week. I think I saw it was one of the worst rounds that they'd had on record in terms of strokes gained. He was lost like almost 10 strokes to the field. So
he was 21 over.
Yep.
It sounded like some more details came out about his return. It sounded like he didn't even pick up a club until like 3 or 4 months ago.
Be interesting to see this documentary that he was teasing. I hope it does find a distributor, because I hope he'll sort of tell the full deal. He kind of hinted at it, like there's some bad guys out there. They took advantage of me, but he didn't talk about, what a lot of people think is like there's some substance abuse issues. And I am interested in hearing that stuff. I am still rooting for him. Like I
100%.
really want him to find peace, and he seems happier. He seems like, got back in the game because his wife was interested in playing, and
yeah, I take no joy out of him, the scores he's putting up or any. It's not. I don't want to joke about him at Liv's expense. I'm literally that quote is just a joke about the technology face in golf. It has nothing to do with Anthony Kim, other than I hope this is fulfilling him in some way. I still have very suspicious suspicions of the people that have lured him into this, but that's maybe a story for another time. But let's move to close here, TC, because we got a lot of stuff to cover all week. A few house announcements if you want to get to.
God, I guess first and foremost, I want to congratulate the winners of the Chunks at the Chuck, one of our events. Go to events.nolayingup.com for the full event slate and get involved there. I think that's got a lot of good stuff coming up here, May, June, July, especially. So all over the country, kind of get involved. You can go to the Refuge as well. Saw a lot of people were asking about what we were doing in Scotland on the reversible. Will there be content coming up from that? Unequivocally, yes. We filmed the heck out of it. We brought a couple friends of the program along to film as well. And we got some truly shit weather, which actually should make it even better. And I can just say the old course in reverse was like, I was probably more excited to do that than I have been to do anything in recent memory. And it far exceeded my expectations. It was one of the coolest things I've ever had the privilege of doing.
I was suspect that it would feel like a fun round of golf. It's a cool novel. I thought it'd be a bit more of a novelty. It was incredible. And I won't spoil in much of it. It's going to be out later this summer, but we filmed a whole bunch. We went to Troom. You guys went over to Aaron for a day and filmed over there. We filmed on the new course. We filmed on the Castle course. We got a lot of great content coming. Give us some time. We got Tour Sauce that's coming out right after the Masters. You're about to get hit with a cannon full. We have loaded up the cannon of video stuff, and it's going to start hitting as soon as the Masters is done. It premieres Wednesday, April 17th. So that's coming. Yeah. We'll have a Masters preview pod out Monday night. That's available on YouTube and on wherever you get your podcast feeds. Probably Tuesday morning that'll be up. I'm going to be doing a Twitter Spaces with, I believe, some on the Masters feed on Tuesday evening with some. It should be very exciting, I should say. It should be some good content from the people that I think are scheduled to be on that one. And then we'll have a happy hour show, I believe 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday during the last half hour of the par 3 contest. We'll be doing that. And then we'll, of course, have live shows after every single round of the Masters, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will have writing on nolayingup.com. We will have some maybe a little bit of video stuff coming out this week. It's coming now. It's coming fast. We appreciate you spending Masters week with us and engaging in the content. Chime in on the live shows. Get in there live. Get in there. Harass us. Make fun of us. Do all that stuff. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. All that stuff, because we're pouring in the resources this week. It's gonna be fantastic. So,
guys, I think we're kind of at that point in the season when I had dreams this week. I had some weird dreams. I had a dream. Bryson appeared in my dreams. That he was out at the tree farm. Okay. Zach Blair's new course, and just, it was kind of blowing his mind. And then somewhat relatedly, I met Tom Doak, and I were having a beer, and he just made me keep apologizing to him over and over and over again. I must have apologized to him 100 times.
You see, I joked that this was like the Herb Brooks scene in Miracle, where he just again,
apologize again.
I think we can make that happen. I hope we can. I hope Oak's out there listening.
Yeah, I don't have anything to apologize for.
In your dreams, apparently you
I
do.
didn't like the loop.
Got something on
okay?
your conscience. All right, that is it. A lot of podcasting coming your way this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to AT&T, H&B, and Titleist, of course, TC, Jordan Perez, KVV. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all week at Augusta National. Cheers.
Goodbye, friends.